Hey everyone, this isn't a warder, this is a Battlemage, and this is going to be the third of our basics class combinations videos. And this one, I decided to go with the Battlemage, and the next one is going to be the Druid, and then the Warlock, I think, to cover all of the Arcanist combined stuff, and then we can actually move on to other things. And I decided to start with the Arcanist combined stuff just because it's easiest to keep that stuff fresh in the mind before moving on to another thing. And yeah, I don't actually have a warder, so I'd have to maybe do some jumping back and forth between two characters to talk about the two trees with the trees on screen. So for now, I absolutely have every class combined with Arcanist, and that's the easiest to do for me personally. And, you know, that's what we're going to do first. So, the Battlemage, in terms of gear dependency to build ratio, I would say it's much more gear dependent than the other Arcanist combinations. Only because there's sort of a split here between the soldier's physicality and the Arcanist elementalistiness. There are ways to convert physical damage to elemental damage, though, and physical damage to aether damage, but it's a little harder to build around, and you do need the gear to build around it. You need, like, a Mind Warp and Will of the Living combined with Reckless Power and a Wrathstone to do all your Aether conversions. And you need to use, like a Skander's Elemental Exchange with Shard of Baranath with, I think it's Baranath Reforged, and the Star Pact, and that's just cold damage. So it's like there's a lot going on here where to actually build that conversion, you need to really build that conversion, and that brings in the gear dependency I've been talking about so far. And you also kind of end up with this weird disconnect between like the more rangy stuff the Arcanist has and the more close range stuff the soldier has. That being said, Battlemage has a great core of defense. And I think I'd maybe consider it second only to the Spellbreaker in terms of the defense it provides you, in terms of surviving hits / reducing damage so you don't get hurt as much. So this would start on the Arcana side with Myvan Sphere, as I mentioned before, and it's like 20% damage absorption, and, you know, work in Mirror of Aractes maybe to just get the 3 seconds where you don't get hurt at all. And then on the soldier side of things, you can actually run shield training and overguard. I mean, I'm not with this character because he's using a caster offhand, but oh wait, that's the point I got to respec. Sorry. You could actually get a lot of, say, health and physique, which means defensive ability, which means less damage taken, with, like, say, shield training, which in that very long list I covered in a previous build video of the defense order of operations, a shield can just take out all sorts of damage, and you can get, you know, a lot of DA. Just that, I mean, it's just a lot of defenses you can get on top of Mirror of Aractes to reduce the damage, or give yourself a crap ton of health to just mitigate. On top of that, you have things like Warcry, which reduces enemy damage. And, I mean, Fighting Spirit. I think that's what this point I have in Maynard's Will is supposed to be in, and I just ticked it wrong. Yeah, so the soldier side just has a lot of... Oh, and also, I forgot to mention, of course, you have percent elemental resistance if you need it. And you can go to Scars of Battle to get the bleed resistance and reduce stun and freeze, but also increase your armor absorption, which is basically increasing the amount of damage your armor absorbs thus increasing your survivability. And you've also got Maynard's Bulwark. If you're running that as an exclusive skill, you have another layer of shield-based defenses. So yeah, this combination can give you a whole lot of health and defense. And I've mentioned a couple things on the Arcanist side with the Sorcerer and Spellbreaker. Like, you can run Panetti's. Kalidor's Tempest would be great here. Maybe Albrecht's Aether Ray could work. Actually, yeah, I think it could really work. You would just be using the soldier side to really give yourself a lot of defense. Obviously, you can get Devastation going. Trojan Sky Shards works in this build. On the soldier side, I've used Blade Arc with a Battlemage, and it's been pretty effective because you can just swing away, and it hits everything around you. Force Wave can also be fairly effective as well because you can convert all the physical damage to elemental damage. And if you're running a two-hander, you can use it with Tremor. And there's a surprising amount of internal trauma damage things that you can grab up that are kind of paired to physical damage, and you can convert the physical damage and then like keep internal trauma damage as an option. So you could actually run Oliran's Rage with converting the physical damage while still having the internal trauma damage. And Cadence works as well, especially since you can get a lot of conversion on the Cadence proc. And I mean, I don't really think there's much else to say about the attack abilities that you can support as a soldier. It's just much more gear dependent or reliant. Like, you would need a really good two-hander, or just need a two-hander. And that would actually mean you can't pick up, say, Devastation anymore. Or if you're running, like, say, a caster offhand based build, which my character is, or if you're using Albrecht's Aether Ray, you can't use a shield anymore, which means one of your core defense abilities is gone. So yeah, this is where that sort of disconnect between a caster and a warrior come in. But there's a lot you can do that's interesting with this combination. I'm not saying it doesn't work. It's just a little disconnected between the two, what the two trees are. But it's still manageable. So to further talk about that disconnect, I'm running this character with Markovian's Advantage and Zul'Han's Technique. And I mean, if you want to run a melee mage that does, say, Kalidor's Tempest and spams it, you basically can't run these two. It's kind of that disconnect as well. I mean, it's the same thing with Force Wave, though. So if you're running a Force Wave build, I guess that doesn't really count as a negative because you're running Force Wave. I mean, same thing with running Kalidor's Tempest. But I guess that is kind of another disconnect. But if you're using a basic attack base build off, say, a Shard of Baranath for Baranath's Fury, you can work those two in pretty well. I may not include that line. Okay, that's going to cover our Battlemage video. It's a pretty interesting class combination in terms of defense, but there's that disconnect that really does make it kind of more gear dependent than the other slash Arcanist combinations. So thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video, and next up is going to be the Druid. So I'll see you guys then.